Shane, Reef, how are you?
I am fine. Really nice to see you. It seems like we meet up, I don't know, every 2 years. Super excited to have you. I think this episode is going to be very important going into Q3, Q4 around real estate and the doom and gloom. I've always been a big fan of you as a pioneer in the industry, pushing different technologies, marketing, sales, really the driving force that makes a successful building company. And of course, everything that's after that, service, etc., and teams. You can't wake up without hearing recession, inflation, all of these terms. And I know that you've gone through many markets. Now, COVID's new to everyone, but you can put that under your belt too. And I'll be honest, no one knew the market, the real estate market, would actually boom in the last year and a half. And now no one knows what's going to happen with recession and inflation and all of these types of things that are happening. As a marketing company, marketing and sales solutions company, I find in the industry it's always a knee-jerk reaction. Things go down, and there's different departments within a build company that may get cut, slashed, right?
Yes.
So I really want to dig into the psychology about that and why that happens. But let's talk quickly about, and I know you've done a lot of podcasts and videos around inflation and such, but let's set the tone. What is the current environment right now with interest rates? And how do you feel it is going to impact the industry?
We already see it impacting the industry, but you've seen some of the largest increases that I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
In the last few months alone. We dropped from 1.75. I mean, that's enough to scare people off. It was really hard to tell over this past summer whether or not that would affect people, because usually an interest rate increase that kind of puts people on the shelf for 2 or 3 weeks. With something so large, you might put them on the shelf for 30 to 60 days.
Okay.
So these repeated increases don't really give us a great sense of what's going to happen in the marketplace, at least in my area. But if I compare it back to even when I was growing up, I was making my first home purchase. I had a 3-year rate at 6 3/4. My father told me to jump on it. Yeah, so the fact that they've been as low as they have been for so long has really been a treat for people nowadays. But a good one, because it allowed them the opportunity to move into a home sooner rather than later. That entire impact from the interest rates going up, I don't think we've really seen how it's going to affect us yet. I mean, we all know how inflation is affecting us out there. It's making it pay more for goods and services. And that's tough for a lot of people to handle. Everyday items such as groceries and fuel, I mean, that's expensive now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that'll deter people for a while. But any business that's fearful of it, they should be cautious.
What is that?
Saying you shouldn't be cautious.
So
you have to be cautious.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So in the industry, if you're a builder, developer, what kind of things should you be cautious about? What are you thinking about when you're sitting at your desk in these times?
You're a little cautious about making any dramatic moves. From our perspective, is that we're looking at land commitments. We're a little more cautious now.
Okay.
We're having conversations rather with our developer friends and partners and asking them to not be so stringent on their terms. And we may not be taking down as many lots as what we normally would. Because, again, you have to be somewhat cautious.
Right.
The writing is on the wall, but at the same time, we seem to be relatively insulated here in Alberta. There's a few regions around Canada that have proven that so far. So although we've seen the sales drop off a little bit, it hasn't been devastating as it would be in Toronto or Vancouver.
What about programs like spec programs? I know some builders have a model where they're heavily dependent, or it's a big part of their model is a spec program. I'm seeing less of that today, but I'm also still seeing some companies doubling down because that's just how their model is built. Just from my perspective, if there's specs, like you said, there are still professionals or individuals coming in from those bigger markets, Ontario and BC, where it's still extremely expensive to live.
Yes.
That are looking for inventory. So what's your take on specs? Should builders still be doing, should be a hybrid where it's like, where should they sit with that?
It is a bit of a hybrid. Some builders, like you mentioned, their model is they might spec 80% of their inventory. We generally spec around that 20% mark. So we'll scale that back a little bit. It'll only be 50% of what we do moving forward. And again, that's caution. That's okay. But I'd still put spec homes out there for people to buy when they're in immediate need. Because as you mentioned, and I think we've seen it, it's been proven already, Alberta saw the largest migration from in Canada of any province in the past year.
Yeah.
So people recognize Alberta as an opportunity, not only for housing affordability, but other opportunities for business, for young entrepreneurs. And this is honestly the golden land, in my opinion.
Absolutely. So they say history never really repeats itself, but it rhymes. And again, we're hearing about 2008 and crashes and that. Do you think that was a different scenario? But again, it's when the media puts that out there, no one really thinks further than, oh man, it's going to be the same. What's your thoughts on the next 12 to 24 months?
And the fact that the media needs to shut up. If it's a headline that leads, it leads, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous because it isn't comparable to what we had seen in 2008. So this, if managed correctly, might be a minor recession. It might last 6 months to 9 months, but people don't stop living. They don't stop living. They're still out there purchasing. They're still out there buying, and you need to give them a good reason to. You have to adjust your expectations that, you know, as a home builder, you're not going to go out there and maybe sell 50 this month. You might only sell 25 to 30. That's okay. And I would give that reason to a lot of the businesses out there is you have to adjust your expectations. They had a good run, an amazing run after lockdowns that nobody could have predicted. Now you have to make adjustments again.
So let's talk about that. So based on my experience having a marketing agency, we're starting to see a knee-jerk reaction right now with some of the builders. And what I mean by that is we're in budget talks with them. We sit at the table and we look at marketing. And there's other functional groups within the company. Can you maybe share with me why it's so easy for builders to say we need to cut marketing?
Sure.
And why that may or may not be a good idea? Because in my opinion, it's hold on. You've got less buyers. They're still out there. But your brand needs to shine even more as far as like, yeah, the buying process, like you said, it's going to take longer, but you want to be top of mind when they're ready. When all these interest rate hikes dial down and people get confident again, is your brand going to be top of mind? And if it is, it's probably because you stayed the course with your marketing program and you continue to do that high touch nurturing and cultivating of your leads, especially on the sales side. So if you can comment on that, because of course I'm biased, I own a marketing company. I would think stay the course or double down or find the opportunities to be louder than everyone else.
That goes back to even the beginning of lockdowns. The first thing my VP of Sales and Marketing asked me is, how much do you want me to cut the budget back? I said, I don't. I want you to increase it 10%. And for those exact reasons you just mentioned, you want to stay top of mind with people. You want to let them know that you're still out there. So when somebody says to me, we're going to start cutbacks, why? Do you really know what's going on yet? And it's deeper than just marketing. It's everything, right down to, do you get new trucks for the field? Do you do this? Of course you do. You still have to continue on, but with caution until you know absolutely for sure what's going to happen in the marketplace. But just jumping back to marketing and advertising, yes, my God, keep the budget in place. And if anything, I would suggest increase it. And largely because you have to stay out top of mind in front of people. You have to let them know that they exist, because we live in this world now where you're besieged by messaging. If you don't see it on your TV, you see it in your computer screen, through email newsletters, or just jumping on the web. You see them on your phone. There's a lot of messaging going on out there. You have to be one of those messages. You can't just pull back and expect everybody to have this memory or this brand knowledge that you're still there. A year from now, people could sit there and say, does this company still exist? Because I haven't seen anything from them lately. That's how important it is to keep your branding and your message alive.
Shane, why is marketing seen as a cost center? Sometimes, yeah, we know we need to do it, but we don't really want to. I'll be honest, there's some things that are not measurable in marketing. It's a gray space. You have a billboard out, obviously it's a branding play, but you don't know if people actually came in because of that billboard. But why is marketing not at the forefront of a business, just like finances and all some of these other units? Why isn't marketing a main pillar I know it is for Shane Holmes, which is absolutely phenomenal, but I'm giving my feedback on it's a struggle. It's a struggle to get budget. It's a struggle to educate and show that it is important. Why is it? Why does marketing get that gray cloud over top of it?
Because plain and simple, it's the easiest thing to cut. And the scenario is always sales are really good. People are coming in. We're getting people from the province. It's, for lack of a better term, an easier sell. And to look at it that way is absolutely ridiculous. It means, to me, is that you're not pushing the hard message now, you're pushing a soft message. You're doing more branding because you're telling a better story about who you are as a company rather than ramming that sales message down people's throats all the time. You want people to fall in love with your brand, and that's the only way that you can do it, is to show them who you are past that message. You're showing them why you want them to be emotionally attached to your brand.
Absolutely.
So that's what you do when you're spending more. You're attaching that to everything that you do.
And some of the things, and I don't know if put you on the spot as far as numbers, but what's the general and different size of a large company, but there's some smaller companies that may do 50, 75 doors a year. What kind of percentage should they put towards marketing? I have my recommendations, but the larger you are, that percentage goes down. You're dealing with bigger sums of money. But what would a company that does up to 100 doors a year, what would you say put aside percentage-wise for marketing?
Depends on how people want to evaluate it. We run off $1 million budget. To me, I think the simplest way to explain it is allocate $2,000 for advertising at least, just to keep that message out there and through various mediums.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for answering that. The other thing that I'm finding, and what we're actually starting to specialize more in, is marketing and sales. So playing in the same sandbox.
Yes.
Working together.
Wasn't that always the idea?
It's always the idea, but unfortunately, it's sales. They tend to do their own thing. They've got their spreadsheets, and the older way of things, maybe a CRM's a place where they're not going to adopt it because it's technology, whereas marketing is forward thinking, and they're bringing the leads in, but sales can drop some of those leads because there isn't a proper process. I know Shane Holmes your processes are what really make your company. It's important. But being boots on the ground, we do see those two functions not really working for the common good. And the common good is not the company, it's the client. It's that client experience. It's the nurturing, it's taking them through the process from handing the keys over, but also after the keys were handed over. And how are you still having that soft touch with them? Because ultimately they're going to refer people to your brand.
Yes.
So we're trying to bring those two together. Can you comment on sales teams in this environment as well, and how sales and marketing and maybe others functional groups can work together? Because they went from people knocking at the doors for 6 months ago.
Yes.
To nothing. Very slow sales right now. So how do you keep them motivated?
It's a great deal of difficulty.
Yeah.
It's the loneliest job next to the maytag sale procurement. And it's funny you mentioned that. Actually, interesting you mentioned that, because you're right. In some organizations, if you're not working collaboratively, you have the sales and marketing team, not the sales and marketing. That is so crucial to the success of everything happening up front with the customer. They have to work together to bring them in the door. So you have to utilize technology that way. And we work with our salespeople to encourage them and get them more involved with social media and learning to prospect that way, because in the past it was easy to get people to come to the door. I remember stats from back in the 90s when I first started. We had 8 locations and you would get about 32,000 couples through the door every year. The reality is today that you might still have 8 locations. You get 6,000 people through the doors every day. So how do you get them from this point back to the door? You have to market to them right up front. So that's why those teams have to work so closely together and collaboratively. And if you don't have that, you're only going to be so successful. So take advantage of social media and other opportunities, like you mentioned, CRM. Keep your message out in front of them. Show them that you still exist. That simple email, even with video attached to it now, is gold.
100%.
Because when people get out there and they buy from from their salesperson or their area manager, they need to know that person personally. They're buying from them right up front. They're not only buying the brand, they're buying from that individual. So it's a trust. It's something that has to be built and over time.
And to add to that point, with that link between marketing and sales, well, marketing is the first out of the gate. That's really promoting the brand and creating that awareness and the branding. But as soon as when they see that commercial or they see that ad and they get the warm and fuzzy feels, they walk through and they see a person now. You want that same warm and fuzzy feeling from what they saw in the ad to translate through to the boots on the ground sales team.
Yeah.
And so that's why they have to be aligned, right?
Absolutely.
Sales is changing. Sales isn't about pushing a product. It's really about the people that are wanting to learn more about your product and be patient about teaching them about why you want to buy from Shane. And making them feel really good about it. So it's the journey. It's the nurturing and cultivating
everything along the way.
It is. And so that's why it's always good for marketing and sales to be aligned, because sales needs to understand what's happening ahead. So when those people come in, it's the same feel. And I think Shane Holmes does an incredible job doing that. And I think in these times, if there's any developers or builders thinking about the future, these are the things they should be thinking about. It's okay, we get to step back, and with every down there's an up, but you don't want to be changing CRMs or developing processes when it's up. You want them in place. Absolutely. So when it's up, they just feed into it. So I think this is another opportunity for companies to think and reframe how they proceed into the future when it comes to marketing and sales.
They can't back off on it just because things may slow down. This is a natural progression. You don't just sell somebody and move on from there. You have to create that relationship, that long-term relationship. So even sales training doesn't come back to sales one anymore. It comes back to, how do you treat the customer? What is the customer experience you want them to have? And how is it consistent throughout the whole buying process? Not only from sales, but all the way through to your service team.
Exactly.
It's really just the way things are moving now, and thankfully they are, because who wants to make such a large purchase and then have regrets about it afterwards, or they don't feel that they were supported, or they weren't taken care of by the person that they placed their trust in? That's the world, and you have to learn how to manage it, where you're going to fall behind.
Absolutely. Last thing I want to talk about is, again, I know you're huge on tech and new ways of purchasing and giving people options, opening up their ability to purchase.
Yeah.
So what is some of the coolest tech that you guys might be implementing or you've seen out there that you think will have a place maybe in the future?
Build and price.
What does that mean?
Build and price on your home online. Yeah, we implemented it here months ago. It's a product that only put together.
Yeah.
And it's been a great partnership, but it's something that I believe in for a long time. And I know we're selling a larger luxury item, a big ticket item, but people were warming up to that fact.
Yeah.
They had 2 years to do all their shopping online because we were told not to go out of our houses, not to go to the malls, and especially out to show homes. So that's the big tool that I think people can really take advantage of in the future, where they can sit there, they can pick a lot, they can price their home, they can add in options and see where they sit. They can get themselves qualified online, and if they so choose, they can push the purchase button, and everything starts rolling through right to the point where we're able to verify their mortgage amount. Essentially, the customer is in control at that point. And I know that there's probably some salespeople out there who think, oh God, I'm going to lose my job. No, you still need that emotional connection. You still need that individual there to handhold you and bring you through the whole deal. So that part isn't going to change. What's going to change is how that relationship develops. But that is the most interesting tech moving forward, and they're slowly moving up in the ranks. I know that there's a lot of opportunities that have opened up for that in the United States alone, and it started here.
Unreal.
The first one
in Calgary,
right here
in
Calgary. The first one in North America. This diverse.
Amazing. Before we leave, is there anything you'd like to, as a leader in the industry, that you'd like to give your peers as motivation moving forward, something to think about for their business?
I think it's really, don't panic yet. We don't really know what's going on out there. let's wait and see as we move into October, November, and really see where the market is. And you can make some assessments then, because the knee-jerk reaction, like I said, tends to be cut, 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 cut. We don't need to cut immediately, and you have to understand that there is a recession looming around the corner, but it's going to be a short one, that your people are still valuable. So you don't cut it automatically, and so you absorb it for a while and you wait for things to adjust.
Yeah.
So it's really just don't panic.
Agreed.
It's too early.
Agreed. Shane, thank you so much for your time.